Hey TechKnowStuds, in my last video, I covered OSPF cost and how it's calculated. I also covered an issue with OSPF cost and how it's calculated. It uses some old numbers, which makes it so that the higher, faster bandwidths that we have now, it calculates the wrong cost or something that's not representative of those faster speeds. And so because of that, we'll want to get onto our devices and change the OSPF cost. So let's get on our routers and figure out how can we change the OSPF cost so it represents those faster speeds. I have a console cable plugged into this router 1, and we're going to be taking a look at this interface FA01, which is plugged into this network down to this switch 1, and everything on all these layer 3 devices are running OSPF. So let's take a look at what that looks like. The first thing that I'm going to do is show you a show command. So I'm going to show IP OSPF interface, and then the interface ID, which this is going to be FA01, and let's take a look at that. One of the first things that I see here is the cost of the interface. So we're going to be changing that. The other thing that I'm going to do is going to show IP route, and we can see that we have costs to each one of these networks here. So it's just adding up 1 plus 1. 1 is set for every single link here. So now let's jump into the interface. So I'm going to go to interface, or I have to get in global configuration mode first, and then interface FA01, and I'm going to change the bandwidth. So, and I'll change the bandwidth. Let's change it to, we'll set it in kilobits, and let's do 1,000 kilobits. So that'd be 1 megabit per second. So I'm going to change that to 1,000 and hit enter. And then I can do show IP OSPF interface FA01 and see if we've affected the cost. And now, because we've adjusted it, now it says 100. So we have in fact adjusted the cost. So that's one way that I could do. Well, also I can do show interface interface FA01, and I can see here the bandwidth, which is 1,000 kilobits per second. So, and that would be different than what we had before. In fact, let me go ahead and now, one thing to keep in mind is even though the bandwidth says it's 1,000, it's actually operating at a much higher speed. This 1,000 is just because we set it, and that's what it uses to calculate OSPF, but it's running at a faster speed than that. So I'm going to remove this bandwidth 1,000, and then let's take a look at this interface again. And now it's back to the fast Ethernet connection that we have, 100,000. So there you have it. Okay, so the next command that I can do, so I can change the actual bandwidth of this. The other thing I can do is change the cost. So the command to do that, it would be IP OSPF cost, and let's do a cost of, how about 128? So I'd specify 128, hit enter, show IP OSPF interface FA01, and do need the do command at the front of this. And there we have the cost of 128. So that's another way that I can change this. So I'm going to remove that though. I'm going to remove this one right here. So I'm going to do no at the beginning of that. And then I'm going to exit out of this interface, and I'm going to go into router OSPF and our process ID of 10. So router OSPF 10, get into there, and I'm going to do auto cost reference bandwidth, and we're going to specify it in, let's do it's in megabits per second. So let's do a Well, we would want to do, that would be a gigabit, that'd be a 10 gigabit, and might as well just make it future-proof. So we'll do that right there, and I'll hit enter, and it says that it's changed. I'm gonna do show IP OSPF interface FA01, and now we have a cost of 1,000. So now I've created a little more delineation between my 100 megabit connection, my gigabit connection, and my 10 gigabit connection. So that's what I wanted to do, and we are operating. This will calculate things much more accurately with my varying speeds across my network.